Hello everyone, all 22 and a few film review, giving you guys the next episode of Draft Raps, my draft class analysis series where we dive deep into all 32 classes, letting you guys know how I feel about every pick according to my big board, who's left on the board positionally, is it a team need, is it a scheme fit, all that good stuff. We'll be talking about the paths to starting for every player, as well as kind of immediate role projections if I see that for the pick. So if you want to learn more about the Steelers class that we're going to be talking today, or about any of the other 31 classes, make sure you go through the channel, subscribe, stick around so you don't miss the teams you're most interested in, you don't miss your favorite teams, all that good stuff. Like I said, we're going to be talking about the Steelers today, finally cracking my top 10. The Steelers at 10 here with a 3.285 and A-. That numerical grade coming from an equation that I made for you guys so you guys can have a more concrete feel about how I feel about every single class in the NFL. You guys could stack the classes with the same letter grade, see how close and how far away different classes are, all that good stuff. The video is more about the analysis and the grades per pick, less about the numerical grade, but like I said, just a little extra fun thing we can come back to later. But again, a 3.285, an A- for me, a very, very good class. My 10th overall class. Going to be a bit of a shorter video today. They only had 2 day 1 and day 2 picks, and then they have 5 day 3 picks. So we're going to be kind of flying through this one a little bit, but let's get through it. They start off with Derrick Harmon, an IDL out of Oregon. Their next pick is Kaleb Johnson, a running back out of Iowa. Jack Sawyer, an edge out of Ohio State. Yaya Black, an IDL out of Iowa. Will Howard, a quarterback out of Ohio State. Carson Bruner, a linebacker out of Washington. And Dante Kent, a cornerback out of Central Michigan. Very, very solid class in my opinion. I really wanted them to go after a running back, a quarterback, and then help out the defense, whether it was IDL depth or corner depth. We'll be kind of talking about those rooms as we go through those picks. But they kind of hit their needs early and often, getting IDL first and running back second. Waited a bit long, in my opinion, to get quarterback. It was kind of the feeling around the league that Aaron Rodgers was going to come to the Steelers, so I wasn't 100% surprised to see them not go quarterback early, but he still wasn't on the roster at the time of the draft, so it still is a need. Wish they hit it a little bit earlier, even with them going after Aaron Rodgers. It's not like he's a long-term option, and we've seen Mason Rudolph play a handful of times. He's not the long-term option, in my opinion, either. The Steelers are very, I would say, stubborn when it comes to not moving up for certain positions or just kind of trusting the quarterbacks in their room. It's kind of plagued them since Ben Roethlisberger's left that organization. They've played a lot of middling guys. They spent a pick on Kenny Pickett when they probably shouldn't have. Didn't really work out for them. It's just kind of been a revolving door for them. I would like to see them get a more long-term piece, or at least a piece that gives you hope long-term. Well, let's get into the first pick here with Derrick Harmon, an IDL out of Oregon. Taken with the 21st pick, no trade compensation on this pick. I absolutely love this for them. I gave it an A. Was 24 on my big board, so right at the spot you should have been able to get him. He was my second overall IDL, right behind Mason Graham. He was the 4th one taken off the board, taken after Graham, after Kenneth Grant, and after Walter Nolan. So super good positional value in my opinion. Works super well for this team. They need more of a guy who can move down, up and down the line from the 2I to the 5, and Derrick Harmon is perfect for that. Keanu Benton's more of their nose. They have Cameron Hayward, who isn't much of a long-term option there at this point, but still a good player for his age, especially for his age. Derrick Harmon should slot in as a starter right next to those two guys. I really like Isaiah Loudermilk, but Derrick Harmon is just a much better player, and Isaiah Loudermilk can kind of step into that starting role once Cameron Hayward gets out of here. Still a really, really good rotational type guy. They have a lot of other middling bodies in that room. You know, they bring in Daniel Quale from the Patriots. Again, I don't think those guys really stop you from taking Derrick Harmon. I still think this is a great pick for the future. They love being deep at the D-line. A lot of teams stray away from their base, and although the Steelers do stray away from their base, they definitely like to keep their base available to them. They like to have the bodies to be able to fill out their base packages. Really like Derrick Harmon for that. Again, an A for me, a 6'5.5", 313-pound interior lineman, going to be 23 throughout his rookie season. Didn't qualify for a RAS, but he is a very good athlete. Not an exceptional, not an elite athlete, but for that size, this guy can definitely move. Ran in the sub-5s, so at 313 pounds, you definitely love to see that. Had 5 sacks, 10 hurries, 10.5 TFLs, 45 tackles, 4 PBUs, and 2 forced fumbles on the season. a 2024 second team All-American, and third team Big Ten selection. Exceptional player, man. One of the most nuanced rushers in this class. Has power, has finesse, smart against the run. Needs to see the run a little bit quicker in terms of schemes, who's coming to get him. But a very good player at defending blocks at the point. Love Derrick Harmon, man. Like I said, my second interior D lineman. So this was a great pick for them, in my opinion. Their next pick, they go Kaleb Johnson, a running back out of Iowa, with the 83rd pick, the 19th pick of the 3rd round. Again, no trade compensation on this one. I gave it another A. More of a true A-plus value, in my opinion, in terms of true value. He was taken at 83. He was my 73rd player on the board. But I did have 2 running backs ahead of him, in Dylan Sampson and Cam Scatabo. I would have loved Cam Scatabo for this team. I still love Kaleb Johnson for this team. Like I said, it's still great true value, and I think he is a perfect fit for this team. They seem to want to continue that thunder and lightning approach they had with Jalen Warren and Najee Harris. If you're looking to replace what Najee Harris was given to you, Kaleb Johnson should be able to do that with literally no drop off at all. Kaleb Johnson is a very, very solid, smart back. Gives you really good early down capabilities. Isn't going to give you the receiving capabilities that Najee gave you in his first couple years, but still a very, very good early down back. Very smart, going to hit the right holes. Works very well with this type of scheme that Arthur Smith likes to run. Just a very, very great scheme fit and a good value. I had trouble not making this an A+. Still have trouble not making it an A+, but it's just more because of the guys that I think would have been a little bit better for them at the spot, like a Cam Scatabo. Still an A for me. I think this was a great pick. A 6'1", 224-pound running back, going to be 22 throughout his rookie season. Didn't qualify for a RAS. He didn't have enough testing. Not an exceptional athlete by any means. He's got enough movement and quick feet for a running back, but he definitely doesn't have burning speed. He's not the shiftiest or the most creative running back. That's mostly why I had him down kind of this low. A lot of people had Kaleb Johnson ranked a lot higher, especially higher than their 8th running back. He just lacked a lot of creativity that I wanted to see, and if you don't have a lot of creativity and you don't have a lot of athleticism, then it's kind of hard for me to project you to be a super good back at the next level. You're really, really focusing and kind of expecting them to lean on their contact balance and their power. Kaleb Johnson did have some contact balance and some power, but not the type of contact balance that a Cam Scatabo has, and definitely doesn't have the power that a Quinshon Judkins type has. So a little bit lower than him than consensus, but I still think this is a great value for them. Had 1,537 yards on the season, 21 touchdowns, 6.4 yards per carry, 22 receptions on 25 targets for 188 yards and 2 touchdowns, 0 fumbles. Was a 2024 second team All-American and a first team Big Ten selection. Set his school record for rush touchdowns in 2024 with 21. Love to see the production. A very good early down back. I don't think he has the upside to be a top 5 or maybe a top 10 back, but a very, very good early down back for a very long time. Now he should get the early down reps compared to Jalen Warren. I would be surprised if Jalen Warren does kind of get the early snaps earlier on in the season because he is a more established guy for them. But Kaleb Johnson should be eating away at those snaps very soon. I wouldn't be surprised at that at all. Their next pick, they go Jack Sawyer, an edge out of Ohio State with the 123rd pick, the 21st pick of the 4th round. As we get into these day 3 picks, they're going to be graded on a different scale than the day 1. I'll have a little bit more of a concrete definition about kind of each of these in the description, but I will, of course, be describing why I feel the way I do, why I graded it the way I did for every pick. But day 3 grades are on an I love it, I like it, I see the vision, or an I don't get it type of basis. A little bit more of a lax grading scale, doesn't weigh in the grade as much, as day 3 is kind of a different vision than day 1 and 2. Day 1 and 2, much more BPA for need. Day 3, much more about upgrading aspects of a position, not entirely upgrading positions as a whole, or just going BPA for a position, but upgrading aspects of a position, like the deep threat ability of your receiver room, like the run stuffing ability of your D lineman, maybe the coverage ability of your linebackers, stuff like that. Not necessarily getting guys that you think are going to start right away or will back up right away, but might find the field sooner than later due to certain roles or strengths that they have that other guys in your room don't, and can develop into starters down the line if they can hit their upside. Jack Sawyer, I love it. This was a guy who was in my top 10 rankings for edges. I was a Jack Sawyer truther throughout the class. I understand he isn't the most athletic body. He doesn't have long arms, which definitely hurts his game because he isn't the most powerful rusher. But this guy is super nuanced in terms of pass rush plan. He knows counter moves. He knows a litany of different pass rushing moves. A lot more nuanced and has a much wider tool belt than a lot of rushers day one in this class. Also, one of the best run defending edges in this class. This guy is super smart against the run, has a very, very solid base, fights with a lot of tenacity, a lot of motor. I love Jack Sawyer as a player, man. I thought he should have went somewhere in the back end of the second, maybe the third, because of the lack of athleticism and arm length. Falls to the kind of back end of the fourth. I absolutely love it. I think this is great value. This could be me just being way too high on Jack Sawyer, but man, especially coming into this room where they develop these 3-4 guys very, very well, I think this is an absolutely beautiful pick for them. They have TJ Watt, and they have Alex Highsmith, who I really, really like. Nate Herbig is a great edge 3. Jack Sawyer will fit in super well on this rotation. I absolutely love it with them. I don't think he's going to be edge 3 immediately because Nick Herbig has been pretty good for them, but he should be their edge 4 and rotate with that second edge group, and I expect him to get a solid amount of snaps this season because he is just a really good early down player, and it will blossom into more pass rushing attempts for him. Very good player, man. I love this a lot for this team. A 6'4", 260-pound edge, going to be 23 during his rookie season. Didn't do any of the testing, so he doesn't have a RAS score, but not a bad athlete. It's not like he's a bad athlete. He just doesn't have a ton of get off, not super fast, not super explosive, just a very, solid athlete. Just nothing kind of flashy. Had 9 sacks, 8 hurries, 9 TFLs, 59 tackles, 1 interception, 6 PBUs, and 3 forced fumbles. So you love to see that ball production for him. A 5-star recruit coming out of high school, a 2024 second team Big Ten selection, and the Cotton Bowl defensive MVP after he had that strip sack fumble on Quinn Ewers. Very, very good player that just makes his best plays in the biggest moments. I feel good about Jack Sawyer just being a very solid player in the league for a long time. Might not happen year 1, year 2, but eventually this guy's going to be just a very solid contributing edge for a team. Maybe they're edge 2, a very high-end edge 3 maybe. Their next pick, they go Yaya Black, an IDL out of Iowa with the 164th pick, the 28th pick of the 5th round. Getting this from a trade down with the Chiefs, sending over 156 for 164 and picking up 226, which I like for them. They didn't have a lot of picks. And although they are competitive, Mike Tomlin does voodoo magic to get this team to a winning record every season. They have to do a lot of replenishing every year to be able to do that. They didn't have a lot of picks in this class, so getting any type of more picks you can, I absolutely love for them. I was very surprised they didn't trade out of the first. With Derrick Harmon being there on the board, I understand taking him. 100% I understand it. This team definitely needed picks, man. They definitely needed picks after trading away a second for DK Metcalf. Now, Yaya Black, this guy and I like it. Now, like I said, they do have a lot of guys in their room, especially after getting Derrick Harmon. I said Derrick Harmon, Keanu Benton, Cameron Hayward, Isaiah Loudermilk. They have Lee Logan, who was a 6th round pick last year. They brought in Daniel Aquale. They still have DeMarvin Leal on roster. I still like this, even though there is a ton of guys. I don't think they really have a true nose, especially true nose with a lot of big size. Keanu Benton plays their nose, and he's good, don't get me wrong. I really like Keanu Benton, but it's not like he's typical nose size. He's 6'6", 309, so a little bit slimmer for that kind of 0-1, 2 eye tech. Yaya Black at 6'6", 336, absolute big body. Not going to give you a ton of rushing ability, especially if you watch the Senior Bowl one-on-ones. He wasn't really hitting home on much of anything, but this is a really, really big meat clogger. I think he should slot in immediately as their second nose. So, getting a guy who is going to, I think, rotate a decent amount on early downs, get some decent snaps this late in the 5th, I like it. I think that is a very, very good pick. I think this is solid kind of value for Yaya Black, maybe a tiny bit early, but still, I think he's going to come in, compete, and most likely win that second string nose job right away. He's going to be rotating in a decent amount on early downs. I really like this for them. Going to be 23 throughout his rookie season, had a 3.61 RAS. Not a good tester. That's not why you're drafting him. You're drafting him because he's 6'6", 336. had 1 sack, 2 hurries, 7 TFLs, 34 tackles, 2 PBUs, and 1 forced fumble in 2024. A 2-time Big Ten honorable mention in his 2 years starting at Iowa. So, been able to keep up this production for a little bit of time, but still, not an absolutely great player, not the highest ceiling in the world, but should be a very solid role player for this team as kind of a big early down interior type guy, especially in this division where they do play the Ravens and the Browns twice a year that absolutely love running the football. The Browns just drafted 2 more running backs. The Ravens just signed Derrick Henry to an extension. You need some big boys up front. You need some big boys, and Yaya Black's a big boy, let me tell you. Like this pick for them. Very solid pick. Their next pick, they go Will Howard, a quarterback out of Ohio State with the 185th pick, the 9th pick of the 6th round. They get this pick as part of the DK Metcalf trade, sending over 52 and 223 for DK Metcalf. Getting this little bit of a late round pick just to, bump the trade value a little bit. I don't hate it for them getting that pick back. I like them taking a Will Howard in the 6th. I think this is good value for Will Howard. I thought he was definitely a draftable quarterback. More towards the day 3 side of things. I'm losing my mouth. I'm sorry. But Will Howard in the 6th, I think this is honestly very solid value, especially before they brought Aaron Rodgers in here. This provides a little bit of an extra safety blanket, so you're not trotting out with Mason Rudolph and nothing else. Before they got Aaron Rodgers, I thought Will Howard would have had a real fire shot to compete for that QB1 job. Now, it definitely would have went to Mason Rudolph to start the season because he's been with this organization. He's played starting snaps for this team. But at some point during the season when you're starting Mason Rudolph, you're going to want to get some spark in your room. You're going to want someone with a little bit of a higher upside. And I think Will Howard provides that for him. Now, there is a real reason he falls to the 6th. He's not the best day 1 quarterback, not the most ready to start right now, but definitely has a nice arm, has a lot of size at 6'4", 236, made a lot of plays for that Ohio State team. I understand it. Very good deep ball thrower, and if you look at the Steelers last year, the majority of their explosive plays, the chunk plays they were able to generate, was when they were throwing deep balls to George Pickens. Now, it was kind of thought that George Pickens wouldn't be on this team at some point in the season or to start the season, but at the time of this pick, they still have George Pickens. DK Metcalf, a very good contested catch, go ball type guy as well. So I just think he fit very, very well for that as well, just kind of adding to the strengths of what they do best for this team. Again, 6'4", 236, very good size for quarterbacks in today's day and age. Going to be 24 in his rookie season. 8.8 RAS, interesting to see. I thought he could at least get on the move, but didn't expect him to have a RAS like that. 35 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 4,000 yards, 73% completion percentage on the season, 9.5 yards per attempt, and 119.9 passer rating on the season. Was a 2024 third-team Big Ten selection in his first year at Ohio State. Spent his previous 4 years at Kansas State. So you like to see him, coming into a much higher level of competition with Ohio State and just kind of really having a good season. Again, not the best quarterback day 1. There's a real reason he falls to the 6th, but I think he is a good fit for this team. I wanted them to go quarterback. Wish they did it earlier. But at this spot in the draft, if you're going to get anyone for this team, I think Will Howard is definitely the best fit and provides you with a spark if Mason Rudolph is not what you want there. Now, Aaron Rodgers comes in. Still wouldn't be surprised if Will Howard got some snaps because Aaron Rodgers is no spring chicken at this point in his career. I wouldn't be surprised if he wasn't able to stay healthy for an entire season. That brings in, Mason Rudolph or Will Howard. I personally would want to see Will Howard, but that's just because, Mason Rudolph hasn't been the most exciting guy to watch when he's played. Their next pick, with pick 226, the 10th pick of the 7th round, again, getting this from the trade down with the Chiefs, where they sent 156 for 164 and 226. Taking Carson Bruner, a linebacker out of Washington. This got nice see the vision. I didn't 100% see linebacker as a surefire need, especially if you're not going to get a true difference maker for them. They have Patrick Queen, who they just recently signed to a pretty sizable deal. You'd like to see that for them. Or you like to see that for him. He's definitely a solid piece in that room. They have Peyton Wilson, who they took in the draft last year, who's a very, very good coverage linebacker, very athletic. They have Cole Holcomb, who they also brought in, I believe it was last year from Washington, a very solid linebacker in my opinion. They bring in Malik Harrison from the Ravens, so he kind of has 4 dudes that are really slotted ahead of him. They also have Mark Robinson, who was also a 7th round pick, but taken 3 years ago. So he's really going to be competing for that LB5 job. And if he isn't too competitive in camp, I would be really surprised if he did make this roster. Now, he does have some special teams background, was Washington's special teams MVP in 2023. So could be a nice gunner for you, can be very, very effective on kickoff and punt. But in terms of trying to actually get a roster spot, I think he's going to be much of an uphill battle for him. I think they could have went in a variety of different ways, getting guys a different position that would have had a better chance to make the roster. You know, maybe drafting another edge. I would have definitely liked them to take corner at some point in this class. I wouldn't have hated them taking another wide receiver at some point in this class as a cheaper option in that room. Carson Bruner, it's not a bad pick for the 7th at 6'1", 227, a pretty athletic piece as well. Like I said, very, very effective on special teams, had an 8.85 RAS. Gonna be 24 throughout his rookie season, just turned 24, which you don't love to see. Had 104 tackles, 2 TFLs, 3 interceptions, 5 PBUs, and 1 forced fumble, with 12 missed tackles on the season. You definitely like to see the ball production from him. The 2023 Big Ten selection, 2024 third team Big Ten selection and the team defensive MVP for Washington in this last season. A 2-year starter for them. I don't think this is bad value for the player at all. Just coming in to this position group, I think there's a ton of guys ahead of him. It's going to be a real uphill battle for him to make this roster. And I would be surprised if he didn't. That's why I see the vision. But I do get it in sense of trying to bring in, just very good special teamers this late in the class. Their next pick, they go Dante Kent, a cornerback out of Central Michigan with the 229th pick, the 13th pick of the 7th round, getting this from the Kenny Pickett trade, sending Kenny Pickett over to the Eagles those years ago. A 5'10", 189-pound corner, but can absolutely fly, playing at a lower level at Central Michigan. But this is still a very, very tradesy player with some decent ball production. No interceptions, but 9 PBUs in this last season. Also ran in the 4.3s. So just a very, very athletic late flyer. I like to see it for them, honestly. Like I said, I wanted them to take a cornerback at some point in this class. They bring in Darius Slay, who is much more of just a Band-Aid kind of siding at this point in his career. Joey Porter Jr. had a very promising rookie year, kind of dipped, but you hope he can get back and, kind of develop further than that rookie season. Outside of that, you bring in Brandon Eccles, doesn't really move the needle for me from the Jets. You have Beanie Bishop Jr., who's a solid slot piece. You have Corey Trice, who they took in the 7th a few years ago. Outside of that, no one really moves the needles. Even those 3 guys I just mentioned, outside of kind of Joey Porter and Darius Slay, don't 100% move the needle for me. So I would have liked them to take a cornerback a lot earlier, but to get a very, very athletic piece this late, especially one with some special teams background. He had a punt return TD for Central Michigan in this last season. He's done some kicking, returning, and punt returning for them. I really like it. Adds special teams value for their room. I think he upgrades some of the athleticism they have in the cornerback room. I'm not too worried about him making the roster. I'm pretty confident he will, especially because of that special teams value. Like I said, they're not the biggest corner in the world at 5'10", 189. Going to be 24 in his rookie season. Only had a 7.54 RAS. Partially held down to the kind of height and weight. Also held down due to his agility testing. But ran in the 4.3s. So he's definitely can fly up and down the field for you. Hopefully you can develop that athleticism into a little bit more. Again, had 9 PBUs on the season. 52 tackles and 0.5 TFLs. 1 punt return touchdown on the season. I couldn't find his passer rating allowed in coverage anywhere. I'm sorry, I'm a fraud. I know I had it for basically every other cornerback. I couldn't find it for him. I just couldn't find it. Didn't have any interceptions, didn't have any sacks, didn't have any forced fumbles, but 9 PBUs. You definitely love to see that. A 4-year starter again at Central Michigan. You'd love to see the starting experience for him at a much lower level of competition at Central Michigan, but still a 4-year starter, very athletic. You're hoping you can get something out of him if you can develop. If not, you're at least getting a solid special teamer, a very solid pick, and I like it. This was the Steelers class, probably going to be my shortest video because they only had 2 day 1 and day 2 picks and then 5 day 3 picks, 2 of those guys in the 7th round. So not a ton of deep analysis to go into, but I do think they did really a solid job with the picks that they had, getting a really true difference maker on their D-line, which is going to help them immediately and down the line after Cameron Hayward retires, getting a running back to immediately replace what Najee Harris left, getting another edge that will just continue to keep adding to this deep edge room. I think it's going to be a very good contributor for them down the line. Getting a second string nose tackle that I think should compete and win that second string nose tackle job. Getting that at the very back end of the 5th, very solid value. Getting a quarterback before you sign Aaron Rodgers is going to potentially come in and compete for a starting job, competing with Mason Rudolph. Good value for the 6th. And then Carson Bruner is kind of really the only one I have a question on, because I do think he has a major uphill battle to make this roster, but still a very nice special teams piece if he can make the roster. And then Dante Kent, athletic piece in the 7th with a lot of starting years out of a smaller school. A lot of potential athletic upside, has some very nice special teams value immediately in the 7th. Very solid pick. Again, an A- for me. I like this class a lot. Cracks my top 10 as my 10th class in the NFL. Some other classes, I kind of liked a lot more in different aspects, but, for the picks that they had, they really did the most with the picks that they had, and that's why I've got to have it at number 10. Just a very, very solid class for them. I think it's going to help them immediately, help Mike Tomlin somehow create some more voodoo magic and get to another 9-10 win season, or I should say 10 win season now. Actually, no. You could, still a 9-win season will give you above 500 now. Losing my brain at this point. But if you liked me babbling about the Steelers class here for this long, I really do appreciate it. Really do appreciate you getting this far in the video. I, love seeing all the clicks on the videos. It means the world to me. If you did like it, please let me know down below. Give me some constructive criticism. Let me know what you think about the Steelers class, what you think about anything you're seeing up on your board, or anything I'm talking about in general. Let me know. Leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe if you liked. We're going to be coming to the end of this series here very soon, and then it's going to go into summer scouting, or, maybe potentially talk about some actual NFL stuff before we get into the college stuff if you guys want. Let me know what you guys want to see. I'm always open to doing the stuff you guys want to see. But, again, thank you. I hope you have a great day.